Hello, everyone. This is Nybling and Mork. Say hi, Mork.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to episode 3 of Masterclass Theater. This week we have a roundtable discussion involving the following members of Entropy Rising: Vylaer, Pryda, Calcipher, PingShing, and of course, Morkulth and I. Oh, and Atropos stops by to talk about his build too. So without any further delay, let's get into the discussion.
Let me know when to go. All right.
There you go.
So I actually did a little bit of editing today to mine. So
AFKing in a city?
yeah, pretty much. It's just you stand somewhere and hit /AFK and then you're done. But no, so it's very similar to, Nybling's Crystal Fragments, just with a twist, and that twist is Curse. So start out with Curse, use that to get the 35% chance to proc Crystal Fragments. And then immediately after the curse, 2 crystal fragments. Then after the second crystal fragments, curse will go off. So you can essentially do curse, 2 crystal fragments, curse, 2 crystal fragments, on and on. Use spell symmetry once. Like for me, I have Warlock, so I can replenish quite a bit once I hit 33%. So I'll go down to 33%, replenish, then start incorporating spell symmetry into my rotation as needed to keep from dropping back below. And then the other spell I really use is Critical Surge. On my official build that I put in the forums, it has Combat Prayer because I am a Restoration staff. But I don't believe that's going to be a viable way to heal all the damage. With Critical Surge, each crit I have, which I have 50% crit, does about 500 health. So I can sustain essentially doing spell symmetry in every single rotation with Critical Surge. So I just keep doing that, keep my magic up, and blow shit apart.
And that's your PVE build.
No QQ.
That's my PVE build. And I also use Greater Storm Atronach for the ultimate because before he expires, he puts out around 5,000 damage. So a lot more than what pretty much any other ultimate can do. It does take a little bit of time, but that actual part
And
is
you're free
designed for
while
boss fights.
he's doing it.
Right, yeah. It's
So-
the cast.
Who's doing a melee Sorc?
I am.
Have you picked up the Magicka Furnace set piece stuff yet?
No, I haven't actually. Which one is that?
It's 10%, or when you get hit, you get 10% of your Magicka every 5 seconds.
Where does that set come from?
VR1 content.
Interesting. I had not seen it.
I think it's a heavy armor set though, but
No, I think it could be all 3 Nybling.
it's okay. Yeah, it's still really good for people who want to get up in melee and shit.
You're pretty much never around with Magic Guy.
Interesting. Well, the sets I was going to run I was going to run Magnus and Night Mother's Gaze.
Which Magnus?
It was going to be the 5 set.
The one from the Mages Guild?
No,
No.
no,
It's a crafted
the
set.
one that has a chance to negate the cost of a spell. The crafted one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess if we're talking about gear, my Endgame gear goal is kind of what I have now, which is 5 pieces of Willow's Path, which gives me 5% spell crit and then 20% increased regeneration while in combat, if it is daytime. The other pieces that I get is Seducer, which reduces the cost of spells by 3%, so I can have both of those at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to have 2 pieces of that, and then the third one was going to be on my Resto staff. And for the Night Mother's Gaze, I was going to have 2 pieces, and then the third one be on my weapon.
So, I'm gonna have Warlock for both rings and the amulet. And then for the 5-piece set, I was gonna use the VR5 stuff right now, and unless there's a VR10 set that also does this, but Worm's Raiment, which reduces group magicka cost by 8%, And then for the remaining 3 pieces, which will include weapon, put seducers on there for the additional spell cost reduction.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat with you, Nybling. I was going to use Warlock, most of the healing for the instant magic boost, so I don't have the Dark Exchange as fast nearly.
I feel like that Wormcult and then like the heavy armor one that increases health by like 100 or 150 for everybody in your group. That's going to be really good for the AZs, you know. Yeah, because the 8% reduction in cost, that's like additional sustain for everybody in your group, right? And then more health is always more health, and that's always a good thing.
I just realized I misspoke. I believe the Magnus one is actually a 3 set.
Yeah.
Yep, the one, I think spellcast, yeah. That's another one I'm looking at. I think I need to get it all so I can see whether or not it procs off heals.
Probably does.
It's weird because I don't know if heals are considered spells or not, because spell crit doesn't affect them.
Are you going to go...
They're considered weapon, aren't they? All of that stuff. Resto staff is considered weapon,
It's
so...
weird. It's considered a weapon. Oh, I don't think it's actually considered weapon crit. Like, I tried testing weapon crit on it the other day. Or actually yesterday. I went through like 20 crit pods and I couldn't get a single crit.
Yeah, speaking of resto staff, Mark, why don't you talk about what we discovered yesterday regarding rapid regeneration and mutagen?
Rapid regeneration and mutagen actually stack too, everybody. So I can have both rolling on the same target at once. Making it very effective. So I think the strat's probably going to be going into Trials and Adventure Zones when they come out, probably later this week or next week. Just to have probably a DPS or a tank running mutagen on one bar, and letting the healers do rapid regeneration. Just because mutagen will stack a lot of ultimate. Actually, it might be better to do it the other way around if you want more DPS ultimates. If you think about it, Nybling. Have it stick faster on people. For faster ultimate. I mean, that's really... I was going to say there's a lot of things DKs are rolling around as mutagen right now. Mostly for survivability.
Yeah.
So Calcipher or Pryda, what have you guys been thinking about doing with your Sorc?
I'm planning on going Resto staff healing. I haven't finalized. I'm still leveling, so I haven't finalized too much else right now.
Did you look at Mork's Sorc healing build?
Yes, I've read it.
It's mostly PvE.
What'd you think?
So keep that in mind.
No. Pretty much everything he has sounds legit. Sounds good. I haven't been able to test it firsthand or anything, but...
Sorc healing seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Spam that combat prayer.
I was actually rather disappointed when I heard that Phasius had found that shields were working, and then I heard that, no, he was wrong. Because that would have made Sorc tank rather interesting.
Oh, did he find out something from a patch note, or?
He was testing them after a patch note or something, and came to the conclusion they were now being affected by damage mitigation, but then some other people did some additional testing and proved he was wrong.
Yeah, he still plays the most OP class.
He does. It made me rather sad because there's a couple things I want to see that actually be good. I want to see the Conjured Ward be good, and also a Sorc two-handed trash tank for adventure zones would be amazing, but unfortunately that would require the shield working.
What would you be going with? Would you be rolling with a pet?
No, I'd mainly if I was going to be doing this Sorc trash tank with two-handed, it would involve the cleave shield. But unfortunately, without damage mitigation, that's useless. Without it being affected by damage mitigation, that's pretty useless.
Yeah, I don't know. For a Sorc, if I was going two-hander, I would probably take the morph to get the ultimate, especially given our reduced ultimate costs.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty beast.
Oh, and mix it with like Greater Storm Atronach.
Or Meteor. Yeah, Meteor.
Meteor's looking good, but I don't know.
But mix it with Greater Storm Atronach, that thing would tank for most of the time, either way.
I think it's pretty tanky. Mork,
That
did
thing,
you?
It taunts too, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Not in dungeons, though. I think a normal tank taunt overrides it.
Well, if no one else is taunting.
That's true.
Mork, did you manage to morph, or you morphed Meteor? Have you got it to rank 4 yet?
Yeah, it's rank 4 right now.
Is it giving you? Is it giving you 12 ultimate?
Mm-hmm.
How fast can you recharge that thing?
Depends on AoE or not. I'm AoE, it's pretty fast. I'm AoE 5 mobs with impulses. I generally get like probably somewhere close to like 40 ultimate a hit.
That's
There's
pretty
one
crazy.
thing I'd be interested in testing
Yeah.
is the pet aggro, as the Winged Twilight does do the taunt. And it does an AoE taunt, doesn't it?
I don't think so.
No?
No. Well, I do
don't
know
think
it
any
at
of the
least used
pets
to.
taunt.
The Winged
I think mobs are
Twilight
just generally
used to.
attracted to them.
Yeah.
I think the mobs are just attracted to them, they don't actually taunt.
Okay. Because I could swear that the Winged Twilight used to, at least. And if it still does, and aggro for pets worked in a sense of they counted towards your aggro, so when they died, all their aggro would transfer to you, that might be interesting for tanking. But if they don't actually taunt, and if the aggro doesn't work that way, then there would be no point.
Well, yep. Summons are still pretty much the most useless thing for summoners. Or for sorcerers.
Yep.
I think all they would really have to do to improve summons is just give us some control. I mean, like, I would use Winged Twilight in a dungeon, but the thing dies so fast because it just... You can't control it, so it goes up, attacks something, and then gets like one shot in a veteran dungeon, and then, yeah, you don't get any benefit for the additional magicka regeneration, so you just wasted a skill slot.
I mean, you could get the 2 passives that give you 20% of your magicka when it dies, but I think still costs like, what, 400 magicka or something?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
mean,
expensive.
right,
Time to
but the
take it
big
out.
thing
And
was
time,
for
yeah.
that is the whole, it gives your group like 10% more magicka regeneration.
Yeah.
So if it keeps dying, your group's not getting like any benefit for it, so it sucks.
So are you guys just limiting? Are you like nitpicking the
User joined your
abilities
channel.
you're picking or something? Like I don't understand.
What do you mean
Well,
nitpicking?
that's a big part of theory crafting, is deciding what is pointless and...
No, I mean, like maybe I'm just looking at it differently from you. Because I'm not taking any professions on my main characters. I'm just doing it on my alt, and it takes 297 skill points to pick up everything and max out 3 weapons, including all passives. Like I could just put anything on my bar, and as long as I know, ahead of time, like best job for whatever scenario, good to go, or whatever the group is missing, I guess.
I mean, I still think you want to have a preference. You want to be a man to do it all. I mean, just because you have skill points and everything doesn't mean you'll be the most effective in one role or the other. Unless you practice it a lot.
Well, I mean,
It's like every
User left your
MMO.
channel.
if
You're
we're
gonna
talking about
practice.
if we're talking about veteran, again, I haven't done this stuff. I'm not on PTS, but I mean, if we're talking about veteran dungeons, I mean, if it's like any other game, knowing the fight is like 90% of it, just doing the right
User
abilities
was
and knowing what
moved
to watch
to your
out for
channel.
is going to be the biggest thing.
What's
Never
up, my
talking about
Masterclass
adventure zones.
minions?
Hello.
What you want?
Hey Andrew, we're just talking about sorcerer stuff right now.
Yeah, I figured that's awesome. I'm sorry I'm missing out on part of it. I'll be in here myself in just a bit, but I just wanted to introduce Mui to you guys. Some of you already may know her or know of her, but we're really excited to have her joining us as part of the guild. So give her a nice welcome.
Hello.
Hold
Is
on,
this
is she a
Moonlight?
sorcerer?
Just a Nightblade,
She
I
is not a
think.
sorcerer,
Just
so
a dirty,
we're
dirty
I'm a
Nightblade.
Nightblade healer tank.
Well, then hello and goodbye.
no, Payne. You better
gonna
watch your
find
words
you in
with this one.
cereal.
I think she'll
Apologize.
give you a run for your money.
I will tank heal you to death.
But yeah, anyways, welcome, Mui. I just wanted to forcibly have you do the rounds real quick. Feel free to locate yourself in any channel that you want.
Okay, well I guess
I'm
I'll
gonna-
go with my
They're
class.
doing PVE 1 as the Nightblades.
Nightblade stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of management stuff right now, but
Quick, somebody rename it to Shit Class Amphitheater.
You
I'll catch
haven't
up.
seen what I've done then.
Yeah. She's gonna be defensive about this for a while until she convinces us all and we become believers.
Are you in PTS?
She is indeed.
Hope she does.
She's Gwyneth Paltrow on our side. I forget. What's your name on the EP side?
Mooey.
Is it Millie? Okay.
Okay, I'll let you guys get back to that. I'm gonna go with my own kind.
User left your channel.
We support segregation.
my.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll be back in a bit. Jeff, thanks for hammering out some cool stuff. I'll probably want to listen to the recording later, and I guess that's maybe why you're taking it, but I'll be curious.
He's like, God damn it, Andrew, we have to edit this more.
Yeah,
I know, right?
All the edit, fucker. Well, I couldn't make things
Motherfucker.
too easy for you, but I am actually going to have to drag some of you guys at some point. So, Jeff, how long do you think? There'd be
we'll
a
probably
good
go
time.
for another 10 to 15 minutes, maybe.
Okay, I'll maybe grab some other people first, and then the people in this channel that I need to talk to, I'll save for a little bit later this evening.
Cool story, bro. Thanks.
Right. All right, back to it.
Where were we?
Okay, there's some
Right.
dead air, so I know when to start cutting. Okay,
Pryda, you were talking about.
Yeah, actually, you're still going to have to edit this more because I just wanted to interrupt a little bit more and make sure that.
User was moved out of your channel.
Oh, what? I can't kick him out of my own channel? That's stupid.
I got rid of him. All right. So, yeah, what were you saying, Pryda?
I mean, is it really any different from World of Warcraft, from Guild Wars 2, from any previous Elder Scrolls Online? Like, if you spec into the abilities, like you have the abilities available, like you're always going to use the best thing for the job, right?
Yeah,
we're
I mean,
discussing
it's a
what's the
tool
best for
set.
the job.
Here's the issue, though. If you have the skills and you know how to play the class, that's great. But what happens if it becomes a gear requirement and you don't have the gear because you've been bouncing around? I don't know how gear intensive Endgame is going to be, but you should have something. I mean, it's good you want to fill in wherever, but you should have
Crafting is
a
actually pretty
main
good,
class.
so you shouldn't have to worry too much about that.
Yeah, as far as crafting goes, I mean, unless you're, say, like Destro staff, and then you're like, oh, I want to dual wield. Like, of course you're not gonna have the gear for it. But I mean, in most other situations, just switching an ability on your bar, you're already set up. So, and as far as planning
Well,
ahead
you also
or
have to
something.
think about morphs.
Okay, I mean that's a little different, but I mean there's still, I don't know, when I approach something, especially in a group setting, like I figure out who has what kind of abilities are being tossed around. I look at the timers on abilities, like how often is something happening, set up proper positioning, pick the best AoEers, or in this game, I guess synergies is like a big thing too.
Well, that's all well and good that you have the abilities. What we're talking about is what abilities are best
What's
to
the
use.
best? Yeah,
What's
we're
the best to
min-maxing right
use
now.
and how to use it.
Because I guarantee you, like me, you, and Nybling can go into a dungeon and be like, all right, our role here is to AoE down everything or destroy that boss. And I can pretty much guarantee you, Nybling and I are going to decimate you in damage.
Impulse.
And it has nothing to do with gear. It's because we've both worked very hard at our builds, tried out many different things, and we know exactly what works and what will give us the most output.
Instead of saying that, oh, I have everything, you need to rule it down to, I've got this combo, and this combo.
I mean, I think it's legitimate to have several different combinations. Like, you're going to want to have an AoE combination. You're going to want to have a single target.
Yes, but just saying I have everything, so I don't have any problems, that doesn't quite cover it, because just because you have everything doesn't mean...
Well, what I hear from you guys is you're talking about things like group buffs and everything. Like that's all well and good, but that's like the easiest of things to cover. Like make sure one person covers this in your group. Like you have certain things if the fight requires, if it's a certain length, you want to make sure your mana replenishment is like a lot better or whatever. But if we're talking about you have X amount of mobs spawning from this area, and this one has 3 times the health, which type of AoE are you going to bring? Like, that's a lot more in depth than just whatever buffs. Like, I haven't really heard anything
Well,
like
we're
that.
doing a general rundown of the abilities. So, what is good, what is not.
So, what would be the best AoE then?
Impulse.
Probably Impulse.
Impulse and probably Liquid Lightning.
And
yeah, well, Impulse definitely for weapon-based abilities, but like if you want a specifically class-based Lightning Splash, and not because of its damage over time, but that synergy is really good.
One of, in my opinion, one of the best synergies in the game, just because it's instant cast.
I don't know about that.
Huge...
I mean, it's
there
top,
I'm not saying
top 3.
I'm not saying there aren't better. I said one of the best.
Yeah.
Just because it's a huge radius, it's great damage, and obviously it doesn't really cost anyone in the group anything. Other than the person who cast in, their gain benefit from actually using Lightning Splash as it is.
So what about like ranged AoE and like melee AoE? Like, would you set up something different? Would you set up, like, say you have to, like, say shit just hits too hard and we're approaching it from a really undergeared standpoint, first couple days or something, and trying to get through a bunch of the dungeons with
Encase
like no gear.
Plus Lightning Splash at ranged.
Maybe even a wall elements to slow him down if it's not working as well.
I mean, maybe it's because I don't have PTS and I haven't done this stuff with you guys, but like, what's the range of, like, what's a melee range of any normal mob that you would face in a dungeon?
5 meters? Maybe not.
Reach of your sword. Think about it.
Yeah, that's true. I think I noticed, like, when I tried to do dual-wield daggers, I had a shorter reach than with dual-wield swords.
Does body mass inside the game relate to, like, their swing radius or whatever? Or is it, like, a set, hitbox, and from that hitbox?
I think there's set hitboxes.
I think there's as well. It's probably from the center of your...
Yeah.
Your, like, rotation axis.
Okay.
But you noticed that range was shorter on daggers than it was on sword?
I mean, I could have been on crack when I did that, but it seemed to me that was happening.
Interesting.
That seems really odd for an MMO. Well,
yeah, for an
this
MMO,
type of an MMO.
From a realistic standpoint,
It works the exact same as all the Elder Scrolls games, then.
I think it's just something that'll take more time.
I would
to
say
figure
that
out.
my two-handed does seem to have a longer range than dual wield, so...
Yeah, I noticed that too. I think... So it's good that other people are noticing that, because I didn't know if
Because
that
I
was for
noticed
sure.
I can melee things with my two-handed from a long ass way away. But if I switch to dual wield, it's kind of weird. Feels shorter.
So, quick question: what abilities would you think outside of morphing ultimates? Which abilities would you want to see different morphs of inside of a group? Like, let's say
I don't know if that's worth even talking about, because the goal of this is for us to hone down and for us to distribute some knowledge that we've acquired.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get
You're
at.
kind of
Like,
getting into semantics.
well, not really. I mean, what would be the best for a certain job? Like,
well, yeah, I mean,
it would
that's
work
fine,
with synergies
but...
and stuff, like with your other
Well, I
abilities.
like for single target nukes. I mean, Crystal Fragment is pretty much there, and you want Mage's Fury because I mean when something is less than 20%,
game, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean you just destroy stuff.
It's like 1200 DPS a second once one's below 20%.
And actually, that's one thing I was wanting to mention too. I feel like at some point before we get to the end game, it's pretty much required you do a respec, because you're going to have spells that you just picked up to progress the line that you don't necessarily ever need. So I was thinking for everyone leveling, do an Endless Fury would be a little bit better. You know, for those single target ones, you get some of your magicka back and then move on. And then once we do our initial respec, then we do the other, I can't remember what it's called.
Mage's Wrath?
Mage's Wrath's the original spell.
Yeah.
No, Mage's Fury. Mage's Wrath is the
Mage's
morph.
Wrath is the morph that...
Yeah.
One is more AoE damage? Or does it increase the range of it? I can't remember.
Mage's Wrath does more explosion damage.
So is it going to be worth, like, an execute range? Is it going to be worth just spamming
Mage's Fury?
Oh,
Mage's Fury?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
And then just, like doing heavy attacks?
Below 20%,
probably just light attacks.
I lost every other ability on my bar, I wouldn't give a shit.
Okay.
The very first ability I pick up out of Cold Harbor is Mage's Fury.
Mage's Fury. It's also pretty strong. Even its initial damage is actually not bad early levels.
Yeah, because for most of, until you're like 5, a heavy attack brings them down to 20, and then you Mage's Fury. And they're dead.
The first two abilities I usually get are Crystal Shard and Mage's Fury.
Yeah. And I guess it's worth mentioning too, in case anyone doesn't know it, but you can level 2 weapons at the same time. So how we're all talking about destruction and resto, just in case anyone doesn't know, you can put a resto ability on your bar if you already have everything maxed out that you need, and then start leveling that up.
Well, I feel like my plan is generally just to take a Destro staff from 1 to 50, and you should be able to level it up.
You should be able to level it up to
by then because of the Ultimate Racial.
By level 30.
Yeah, I
don't know about 30, maybe 40, but
I think that's when I switched to using Resto staff.
They changed the XP though, so it could take you a little longer.
I was able to get 40 by
maybe
swapping
40 then, because
50
it's not that big of a
40
difference.
By VR1.
Yeah, I'll definitely swap out to Resto and then level it up that way, because especially when you get to 25. And you can up your damage by 5%, and then like at 30, another 5%. It's going to be pretty huge.
Because I figured for launch, we're pretty much all going to be staying in a 4-man group, so it's not like we need to put out a ton of DPS. So I was just literally going to switch out spells, even if my action bar made no sense at all, and I wasn't doing that much damage. With 4 of us running around doing everything, it'd be plenty. And I was just going to go through, level everything up I needed one by one.
I don't think leveling in 4-man groups is the way to go at launch.
No, I think 2.
I think it's be pairs, maybe 3, but a third person get kind of fucked. They don't bring a Mara.
Well, it amplifies with every person in your group. You get more experience.
You're still gonna have to wait around for people though.
Yeah, you have to wait around. Story quest. You'll get slowed down by each of their story quest because that's instanced.
Alright, so even if you do 2 people, I'm pretty sure 2 people just doing light attacks will decimate everything pretty quickly.
I mean, hell, yeah. I mean, when I was leveling up, basically all I did was I hit Crystal Fragment, then Mage's Fury, Light Attack, and it was dead because like that Light Attack would trigger the explosion.
God, probably up until veteran levels, just Crystal Fragment, Daedric Curse, and Mage's Fury. As soon as the Daedric Curse popped, Mage's Fury usually blew up and killed him.
I think it's a little overkill right there.
What's the radius on the AoE for the curse?
It's pretty small unless
Pretty
you get the
3
morph that
meters.
increases it.
Yeah.
Honestly, you the only morph you really want to look at that is the one
the
that
reduced
reduces
duration.
it to like 3.5 seconds.
Yeah.
The Velocious Curse.
And this is very nice.
Yeah.
Also
like-
it's advantage dots, but it's only one
Oh,
class.
the
Yeah, it just
subject that
doesn't
we
say
had
the
lightning
radius.
splash earlier. You were saying liquid lightning. I actually think lightning flood is better now. Since they changed it around, they kind of nerfed liquid lightning.
Is Lightning Flood the one that makes a
Big
damage in front? Oh, big.
liquid lightning is the small
Yeah.
one that does extra damage. But the thing is, they change it from they double the amount of ticks, but they cut it
Reduce
in
damage
half.
by 25%. I'm pretty sure that's what they did.
I like Lightning Flood too because I think it's really good for hold on.
For PvP.
Yeah, PvP, especially when you're doing keep defenses and you
I
can
noticed
just hit
when we're
like 5
running
people at
dungeons
once,
that-
build up some ultimate.
When there's big mobs, like we had those, I'm trying to remember which one, Spindle Clutch, I think it is, which has like, at one point they'll have 3 Flesh Atronachs. And you can only get like 2 of them in the radius.
Yeah.
But since they changed around how many ticks there is in Lightning Splash, I think that Liquid Lightning isn't as good.
So here's something interesting that I was actually wanting to test at some point in the next week. Who's taking a look at Propelling Shield?
Propelling Shield.
Yeah, it's the Morph to Siege Shield. It basically allies an area of effect gains 7 meters increased range on abilities with 28 meter range or greater.
I was thinking the other one, but I was still open on that one.
I mean, what if you got more range in PvE? That'd be awesome.
I don't really ever see the need in PvE.
I mean, you could be in a position where there's some fights where they have some big area of effects
Yeah.
for PvE AoE,
But
like
I
in
would
the
never
end
use
of.
it in PvE just because of the cost on it.
Do you think,
Well, you get like somebody who runs stamina to throw it, like a bow, like an archer, like Vile Intent.
are you thinking that it will increase like the radius of like impulse, or just that your
Well, no,
target
it-
range?
No, he means the range so that the
Just, like,
ranged people
range.
can get far enough, stay far enough.
Yeah,
away
so
that
like
never be
crystal
an AoE.
fragments, you could shoot it from 35 meters away.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean I'm on the same page. I was just making sure like we weren't discussing that.
Yeah. Oh, I think for PvP, that thing is going to be boss. You combine that plus the Cyrodiil base range boost plus the range boost from the assault tree.
It's like going
Holy
like-
shit!
like
You're going to have
45.
like 45
The
or 50
other
meter
morph
long
is with-
crystal fragments.
The other morph is an extra reduced damage from siege damage, correct?
Yeah, but that's you only need one person with that, and that's for oil.
So with that, could Dragon Knight pull someone at essentially max range from chains?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh god.
You should probably bring that up to Phasius.
Definitely gonna bring up the Phasius.
Because that would be a pretty nice thing to do if we're sieging somewhere, at the inner keep doors.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that's true. Because I think Chains gets kind of screwed because it's like right at the point where they can't.
Yeah, because once
Get
you
the
morph it
bonus.
to be extended, it's still just a bit short.
Right.
No, guys, I am doing melee Sorc, but I mean, I have my PvP build all down pat. My
User joined
PvP
your
one's all
channel.
down pat. My PvE one is currently lackluster. I was hoping that two-handed would have the DPS, but it just doesn't.
Have you looked at Andrew's build?
The Reaver one?
Yeah.
I've looked at it. I'm hoping to go something a little more Magicka-based. So I'm trying to decide. I'm thinking Rapid Strikes will be... If I might have only one on my bar, and it would probably be Rapid Strikes.
Be right back 1 moment.
Though I could easily have the Twin Slash and on there.
So can I get a poll? So whenever we are first starting at launch, the very beginning, when we're still in Cold Harbor, is it considered bad taste to tell all the people who are in there for the immersiveness that this guy's the Emperor?
You probably don't want to be like blabbering that around. Yeah, that's probably not going to make you any friends.
Yeah.
I mean, the former Emperor,
It's still
whoever there is
fun.
at the time.
Touche.
Would be the point in doing it. I mean, there's no practical point in telling them, so... There's no
Amusement.
practical...
User
If there's no
left your
practical
channel.
point, then there's no... I don't see a reason
And
to
I'm
do
back.
it.
I feel like I've already beat the main quest now. Thanks.
No, that's not
I'm just kidding.
the main quest. Speaking of the main quest, I feel like it's going to be funny watching people do the level 40 quest
Oh gosh.
because they're never going to have the experience of doing it in the
Oh,
original
God.
form.
They'll still have one thing, though. They'll have that... the Atronach on top of Ash Mountain.
I know what you're talking about. Talking about the Bone Colossus.
Yeah, the Bone Colossus, thank you. Yeah, no, that guy was a pain in the ass. I was fighting him for like 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, it was. There were some tough fights in the game.
He did a pretty good amount of damage, but it wasn't unreasonable. I was able to keep myself alive for those 30 minutes. But that healing was crazy. Luckily, I found a little nook that is as far away from the other pool as you can get.
So you guys still doing the 49 health thing and forgoing enchantment, health enchantments, even with the changes they made?
Even with the changes, because, yeah, if you want to switch up to having one of your combos be Magicka and one of them be Stamina, you can easily do that if you're attributed for health, because then you can just change your gear instead of respecing your attributes every time.
I mean, for me, I think the thing is there's a lot of sets that we're looking at that are not crafted sets, so you can't put like infused on there, and I think the changes they made only works for VR10 crafted gear if you can craft it the way you want it. If you get any of the other sets, which tend to have better bonuses than the crafted sets, 49 health is still the best way to go because you're not going to get all the bonuses to your enchantments.
I need to get some more gold and fix that because I still have mine from how I was leveling.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, you can either A, get, like, what is it, like 700 health if you put them all into health, or you can get 490 magicka, and then try to compensate it with doing the enchants. So if you do it the way they're trying to make it to where, oh, I'm a sorcerer, I'll put it into magicka and then put some health enchants on, well, all that's really going to do is put me pretty much back where I'm at, because I'm not going to do full health, I'll use partial ones. So might as well just
I'll
get
put you
everything
right
out of attributes.
It'll put you right back where you are, and it'll mean that you're locked in until you spend on a respec.
Right. So I might as well just get all the health I'll ever need in attributes, because it's more cost effective, and then alter my armor enchants the way I need them to be.
Yeah, I feel like it's a terrible thing that this game has this illusion of choice regarding your attribute points. I think it's a huge trap that a lot of people are going to get caught into, and it'll be, I don't know, I kind of wonder how much people are going to be upset about it after launch.
I feel like the end result is going to be they're all going to just be equal.
You mean back to 10 points per?
Yeah, I feel like that's what they're.
Which
gonna
is
in the
funny because
MD.
the reason they changed health in the first place is because nobody was taking it. Like everybody was just like, we're gonna dump all of our points into Magicka.
Unless even if they made it equal, I think I'd still stay with attributing for health
Exactly.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
because it gives you versatility either way.
And they would have to balance around that because if they didn't rebalance the mobs and cut it down to 10 and 10, everyone would just stack full health. You know what I'm saying? They'd go like the other extreme. It happens in every game.
Well, because like for my build and most builds, you need health. Mine, I tap into my health to restore my magicka, so I need to have a decent sized pool so I can do that. So no
Well-
matter how many attribute points or what weird values they use, I'm gonna have pretty much the same ratio I have now.
I think equilibrium is a flat percent A6.
I know it's a flat percent, but and that's why I need more health, because if it's gonna take 500 of my health away, I don't want to have 1,000 health and then it take half my health. I want to have, closer to 2,300 health, so I can use it
Yeah,
more
what he
often.
means is more health for after it's already taken it.
Yeah,
Which morph of equilibrium are you gonna use?
spell symmetry.
Yeah, I feel like that's the better one.
It is.
So what I can't decide with my melee for PvE is, I know I'm going to go dual wield. It's just pretty much set in stone at this point unless they do some major changes to two-handed. I'm trying to decide what all the abilities I'm going to take. Obviously I'm going to have Crystal Fragments and Surge. I'm thinking I might just have one ability from dual wield.
Well,
Big Fury, right? Or Flurry or whatever.
yeah, I
Big
would
Flurry
recommend
one.
either Flurry
It would be Flurry.
with Critical Surge, and then if you want to do AoE, definitely take one of the Whirlwind morphs. I think Whirling Blades is rather attractive to me, just because of the stamina restoration when you hit a bunch of targets. The thing I would do for PvP if I was dual wield ping is I would take that Ember Explosion. I mean,
It's for PvE. PvP, I am two-handed because it's
okay, you're
better
sticking
for
with that.
PvP. It's nice because I've got a lot of survivability. Since I have Critical Surge, I have a guaranteed heal from Critical Charge. I have Charge in general, which is a nice gap closer. I also, since I am like all Magicka, I don't need stamina. I don't need anything in stamina because of the massive amounts of regen I have.
You could if you need a charge, you could go Sword and Born and get Invasion. That would just fuck somebody's day up completely.
Yeah, I still haven't played with Sorenboard recently. I played with it in the past, but
Stun somebody for like 4 seconds. It's pretty sweet.
I feel like Whirling Blades turns into like their version of Impulse. It's like their can be overpowered AoE.
Yeah, I know, right? Steel Tornado would be pretty good if you weren't a Sor, because it's like an AoE execute.
yeah.
I thought Steel Tornado is the exact same thing, just with more, like, a bigger radius.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is, I guess. Well, I mean, 11-meter radius. Holy shit!
You're gonna hit like everything.
So, Mork and I were talking about this earlier. E6 or Vylaer, sorry,
Vylaer.
Vampire for the Magicka regeneration passive. What do you think?
Still not worth it.
Still not worth it.
I don't
because-
think so either.
In most, because I always approach everything from a PVE, almost like a rating standpoint with fights. And right now in boss fights, I'm always lingering around 50% health. Like I don't need anything else making that harder for me.
And
to
fire
balance.
is the most common of AoE I see.
Yeah, I mean, like just think about in I think it's I can't remember what dungeon, but the mini boss that shoots the fire in a circle, and the other boss that screams and leaves fire all over the ground.
Right.
It's just like fires everywhere. I don't want to like 50% increase to magic regen. Like for right
Vanish
now,
cells.
I have 114. Like that's not going to give me that much more than what I already have.
The big Titan boss in Banished Cells. Just think about that.
Yeah, because
And the thing is, you can counter it with, 2 enchants? But I could either not go that.
You could put
and
2 enchants into
Magicka.
Magicka rate cost and use less Magicka.
Right.
So, yeah, I still feel like Vampire is not worth pretty much anything for me.
Yeah, I think Vampire and Werewolf just aren't very attractive at all to me personally.
The only thing I see Werewolf being good for tanks. Just for the effect of getting more ultimate.
They're gonna nerf that.
It is confirmed. You think they're gonna nerf it?
They made a comment that they were looking into that because there were Dragon Knights dropping like 2 standards at a time, and that was just stupid.
Okay, well that's the only thing I saw as attractive.
Dude, I mean, getting 5 ultimate every time you take damage in PvP is just stupid.
Is ridiculous. Yes.
I think the only right now when I look at the abilities without making a whole new ability, the one thing that would intrigue me is their passive. I think it's on death. Yeah, on death, where you start mitigating damage once you get low in health. If that worked in conjunction with spell symmetry, to where the lower health you get, the less health it absorbs, I feel like that would then start, leaning it towards useful in the raid situation.
You could test it out.
I'm not gonna become a vampire, and I almost guarantee it doesn't because it says mitigating damage. Oh, I guess it could actually, because it doesn't. It does work just like you're getting hit.
Try it out, man.
But even then, it's not enough. It has to be more. It has to go up to 75% once you hit 20.
Mist form silences you, doesn't it?
No, it just makes it so you can't get healed.
Okay, because Mist form reduces damage by 75%, I believe. So, I mean, that might help mitigate some of the added fire damage.
It'd be interesting to see if you play a hot before that, if the hot's considered becomes negligible, or if the hot will heal you too.
Well, it's only 3 seconds that or 4 seconds or whatever, that you can't be healed. Of course, then, if you want to look at something else too, you could always get Drain Essence with that invigorating drain and just start sucking up health, stamina, and ultimate. Unfortunately, they don't have like any Magicka regeneration from that, which kind of sucks. But
I'd be interested in testing the vampire, but if you played it, you just have to be very careful in the raid environment, if it's even viable.
yeah, but there's some bosses where you just take damage and you can't help but take that damage.
Right.
Yep.
Which is like when people were arguing with me about health a while back, they were like, well, you could just stand out of the thing. I'm like, no, there's bosses that just, like the guy at the end of Spindle Clutch will hit everybody in your group with a single attack, and there's nothing you can do to mitigate that damage except, throw on an armor buff or drop a circle protection to take less damage, but you're still going to get hit. You can't block it. And he hits pretty hard, so alright, well, is there any other abilities we want to talk about today?
I mean, I have questions.
But
Alright, what's your question?
When enemies are knocked into the air, can they still attack?
No.
And, like, I'm looking at like Fire Rune. Like, how long is it knocked into the air for?
It's actually pretty big.
It doesn't CCM for very long because it's just a straight. They go up about 10 meters maybe.
Okay, it's not 10 meters. No.
No.
They might go up like 3 or 4 meters in the air.
Okay.
It's pretty
okay,
big,
so maybe
but
10
you're
feet.
saying meters, man. 10 feet sounds about right.
Yeah, this is America. We use freedom units.
10 meters, dude. It's 30 feet. Like, holy shit.
We don't use this bullshit metric system. Come on.
They would die from the fall damage if they went up 10 meters.
I don't think NPCs take fall damage because I've used Dark Touch to knock them off shit.
They don't, but
That's bullshit, man.
So what would be the best, like, sustain AoE?
Impulse.
Yeah.
Impulse.
There's a passive in Destruction tree to where when you kill an enemy, it replenishes magicka. So in most AoE situations, you can keep that up pretty long because people start dying before you run out of magicka.
There's actually a couple abilities I'd like to talk about now that I think about it. Bound armor or bound armaments. Is it even worth it, honestly? The heavy attack is 10%, but surge is so much better.
It goes with 12%.
Oh, you're right. I do have it at 3, but
Or I don't know what goes up higher than
So
that.
I tested a while back doing kind of like a staff spec where you go that route and try to get attack speed and just to see just how crazy you can start getting your heavy attack. I mean, and I'm talking about for staves particularly, and the most I could get that up to was like 280 DPS, which is a little bit more than half of what any of the primary specs do. So I kind of gave up on it pretty quickly because I didn't see any possible way to start doubling the damage output.
yeah, I was messing around with that and momentum. I mean, surge is amazing. You can't neglect surge, especially if you're going like full magicka and using weapons a lot. But bound armaments just seems like a waste of a slot.
I'm not familiar with the melee sorcerer builds very well. I mean, that might be something Atropos can enlighten a little bit more. I'm not aware of any of them that do a lot of heavy attacks, so I wouldn't think...
I was doing a lot of heavy-handed, and even then, I felt like having your slots for other stuff was better. Like, if I switched that out for Wrecking Blow, and then the heavy attack after Wrecking Blow, I did more. Okay.
So, bound armaments also works with overload.
It does. That is the only thing that I've seen that it sounds good with.
And I haven't tested this since the last patch, but since overload was giving you a third bar, like, that was something I was doing. Does. Yeah, I would just, like, put surge, bound armaments on there, just, like, start tagging that shit, and then just walk in there and start overloading. Doing more damage.
But
I think it's funny that Sorcs have 3 hot bars. Sorcs OP.
Entropy. Has anyone tested Entropy, like, at its max?
Yes.
Like, how's the damage on that?
Not much at all. I have degeneration.
Got it.
I'm more interested...
No, I have structured entropy, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was more interested in structured entropy for that 8% more max health.
Yeah. Like, there's just better options is what I came to. Because that's my first build that I did for my single target. I had it on there, but it just wasn't doing enough. There are other things like critical surge or combat prayer that are more useful.
So, I see what you're saying, but what about using Siphon Spirit and then throwing on a dot spec where you have structured entropy, you would probably use the what is the soul magic one? Soul Trap?
So get to where every time they start ticking, you start recovering magicka?
Magicka and health.
I tested that. It does not work like that. The dot is one individual event. Each tick is not an individual event, at least for Siphon's reasonings. Which is weird because each tick can crit differently, apart from the main ability. When you first apply it, so it will not work that way. I tested it.
Okay, so it's no bueno.
No bueno.
Good idea, though. If it didn't work that way, that'd be...
Yeah. I see the first tick is when you get the first heal and magicka back.
So I'm curious then, would Elemental Drain work like that? Because if you could put like a fire dot from, say, Crushing Shock, would each burning tick...
The burn is considered an individual event, so you get a heal from each burn.
So Elemental Drain... so burning would work for force?
The burning status effect, yes. You get one,
Oh, shit.
A crit, procs.
That could be kind of neat. Because I think like elemental drain. Like, what if you could do that with burning? You know, get a bunch of magicka back.
Elemental drain comes from which one again? That's Destro Staff?
The Destro Staff, yeah, it's the
It's
more
like that.
for weakness to elements. I should
Actually,
try that.
Thinking of running for like a support bar is running that and like a whole bunch of other debuff things.
I tried testing using a fire enchant on my weapon with two-handed, as you have the 100% increased chance to apply burning and whatnot. It just still didn't proc enough. Even with the double chance.
It's because like weapon enchants have. I think it's not 100% chance to apply it. I think it's 100% chance more. Like it doubles the chance.
Yeah, no, it doubles the chance. That's what I meant.
And I think the chance is already really low. Like,
it is already really low. I test out. I'm like, I've been using a shock one just for the extra damage and the chance to proc disintegrate. But
I think that would be a better passive on dual wield, to be honest.
probably.
Just for clarification, do we know, is it just a low chance to proc, or does it have an internal cooldown?
Low chance to proc.
I think it also has an internal cooldown because there's a crafted set that lowers the cooldown by 1 second.
Isn't for the status effects, because there is an internal cooldown on your weapon enchants.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Reduced weapon enchantments
But
internal
I think what he's
cooldown.
talking about is the chance of the status effects, which is burning,
Oh, okay.
chill,
Okay.
all that, which is what the passive increases the chance on.
I think the only one that has internal cooldown is the Frost one. Other than that, I think they're all fair game.
Okay.
Proc whenever.
I still haven't
Yeah.
seen the
As
lightning
soon
one.
as the fire-
They just have a low chance.
As soon as the fire wears off, you can put another fire ray back up.
Yeah, the fire one procs like left and right if you're fighting bats or trolls, though.
Mm-hmm. In lightning, I haven't really been able to find that much of somebody who's weak to lightning.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone that's weak to lightning, but I haven't seen anyone strong against lightning either.
So
Dude, it's fucking science.
But there's the nice thing about lightning as a Sorc is the enchant has a chance to proc disintegrate.
Well, I don't think you should rely on that proc disintegrate.
who wants to do an AoE bar with critical surge, impulse, and then flawless dawnbreaker as your ultimate?
I did have Flawless Dawn Breaker for a while.
I still haven't got my fire skill to the level to do that.
13% increased weapon attacks, so increased damage with weapon attacks. So it doesn't it'll
think
be a
one of my
nice bit
biggest
of damage for
problems is-
impulse.
I wish that two-handed actually was more unequal ground with dual wield, because not only does dual wield get the extra chance for the stats from the weapon, but even if you have like weapons, like level, they're not equal. Like you would think if you had a veteran rank white two-handed, it would have the same amount of damage as veteran rank one-handeds, but it doesn't. It has less.
Yeah. Speaking of weapon damage, I don't like how like staves and bows have like some gimped ass damage rating compared to like a two-handed weapon.
Yet they both still seem to be better DPS wise.
Has anyone experimented with Force Pulse? The Force Shock morph?
Force pulse. No, I got crushing shock and I was like, fuck the other thing. I mean, force pulse I guess could be cool, but I was like, oh, ranged interrupt? Yes, please.
Ranged interrupt is very much more useful in my opinion than anything else.
Yeah, I was like,
Right.
all right.
I'm thinking of like a PVE situation. Like, is that something that you can use in conjunction with Impulse to really ramp up some damage?
I still think PVE, Crushing Shock, would be more useful in most situations.
It's pretty useful in PvP too. Just spam that thing against the Templar and just watch as they can't heal, because all they do is spam their casted heal. I'd be curious, like, has anybody started playing around with destructive reach since they increased the range?
I have it on my bar.
And since they fixed the ability, you mean, as well?
Would they do to fix the ability?
Wait, is
I
that the
haven't
right
used
one?
that in such a long time.
Well, it was like not knocking back. Like I remember I was on the beta, and it would like randomly, like 90% of the time, not knock back.
It does knock back now for fire.
Okay.
Freezes for frost and chance to stun for lightning.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm all for the other Destra staff abilities becoming pretty useful. Like, I was really happy when they bumped up the damage on Unstable Wall of Elements Explosion.
The last ability I'd like to talk about is Daedric Mines. Are they worth it?
I think so.
They have
For
a really high cost.
I think so. I mean, I guess the PTS is really a bad place to deal with a lot of this because of the way keeps are being sieged. Generally people being cowardly and sieging walls down with
when they don't need
trebuchets.
to.
Yeah. If somebody actually had the balls to like go to the gate, or I guess you could do this in the breach too. I think Sorc's like combining Daedric Tomb, Fire Rune, mixed with other people in
Daedric
your
Mines.
guild. Well, I'd use Daedric Tomb or Daedric Minefield. Either one are pretty good. The Morphs anyway. If you put a bunch of that stuff in the breach along with like a bunch of Caltrops, like you could do some damage against a large.
Remember we were talking last night about if everyone had Daedric, if everyone had Fire Rune, Volcanic Rune, and you just put it like inside the
A
inner keep or
minefield.
right inside the wall, it would just be a minefield with everyone flying out
funny.
everywhere. So it would not only do mass CC, it would do quite a bit of damage.
I wonder if you were able to get on a wall somewhere, if it would shoot them up in a Dragonite chain once they're in the air.
That would be the most badass combo.
Right?
Like,
oh man, that's something we have to try.
My knight would be complete if
and it's
we did that
something
combo.
a Dragonite can do themselves too.
Oh my god, you're right.
That's true.
It
User
shoots
joined your
enemies
channel.
up pretty far.
Because, a lot of times when they're casting, they'll try to, like, stay right behind the little small walls or whatever, so you just put it there, shoot them above the wall, and Dragonite's like, nope, coming to
Now
me.
you guys are saying, yes, it's worth it. Which morph?
I think it depends. Like,
Morph for Daedric Mines.
I think they're both legit. Daedric Tomb is the one that's like 3 mines in a row and they instantly arm. So I think that's really cool. Like if you are
for quick combat,
or if you're retreating, or, kind of pulling people back, just drop that in front of you and watch somebody run through it. But Daedric Minefield with 5 mines is pretty legit too.
And it's in a line too, so if we're running, you could set it in front of you, and then that means they really have to start avoiding your same path. Like if you're going between rocks. Yeah.
If you put it at a door and you had them all parallel to each other, you would make a complete. You could make a complete floor of them if you had a few Sorcs.
Could you imagine if we had like 10 sorcerers and they all had it, and you put it down
and
with just like one
and fire?
Yeah.
Well, like you stack them all, not necessarily put a whole bunch of stuff down, but you put like like 10 of them on top of each other where they can't tell.
That'd be some crazy damage.
Sad motherfucker walks up.
The first one just keels over. Everyone's like, oh, fuck.
It would be pretty crazy, that's for sure.
So guys, I think for my PvE, I think I might test out having Inner Light on my bar.
Inner Light should always be on a bar, in my opinion.
It's a melee Sorc.
It doesn't work? Oh, it doesn't work.
It's spell, but the thing is, I do a lot of spells in this. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to test it out a little bit.
Well, how much spell damage do you plan on doing?
Spells will be about half my. It'll be 2 of my slots will be damaging spells. 1 will be surge. Then at least 1 will be a melee ability. And one of the it's the week of launch.
Rip wallet.
Some of us are trying to improve ourselves. Andrew, what are you doing? Andrew doesn't want to talk about his Reaver build with us.
No, I'd love to. I would love to.
QQ.
But I've got a million things to do, actually. But yeah, no. Is that are we discussing builds? Is it my turn? I'll be happy to go.
Yeah, we've been discussing builds. Why don't you tell us
Why
about
do I
your
have-
Reaver build, bruh?
Ping's busy being confused first.
Oh, I have a missed call from 253 area code.
Thanks for sharing. Okay.
It's up in Seattle.
It's not me.
No, it's better not be you. I can
let's
give you my
see.
number.
So the my build that I'm playing is not yet done. It is a work in progress, and it is based on a lot of supposition about the way things work and the way certain bonuses and sets and things will be able to be leveraged. But I unfortunately have, everyone's painful knowledge not been able to test it at the same level as you guys have tested out some of your builds so far. But the basic idea of it is to stack the crap out of melee crit, use the naturally high damage per second of dual wield light attacks, dual wield abilities, stack a fair amount of stamina, and leverage critical surge to not only increase my weapon power, but give me pretty reliable self-healing while I'm whacking stuff. And so there's a lot of nice ways to sort of roll high dual wield, just sustained damage. It's not a bursty build. It's sort of more of a death by 1,000 cuts kind of spec. So a lot of attack speed. I typically use light attacks only, and I'll use a heavy attack if I have the opportunity to exploit a condition. So if it's a disorient, if it's a stagger, I'll always use the quick heavy attack to get the knockdown. But other than that, it's all about the light attacks. Get the attack speed up, get my attacks critting as much as possible. In terms of crit, daggers, medium armor, a lot of the passives in various trees, Khajiit naturally, exploitation in the dark magic tree, combining that with encase is pretty sexy. I did a little bit of testing. There was some confusion expressed earlier about whether the snare effect on encase is going to trigger exploitation. My preliminary testing, I'm not prepared to close the book on that yet, but it's looking good. I did some sort of 1,000 sample size tests, and it looked like I was seeing that bonus crit chance on the snare portion of encase. But it's really hard to test stuff without a log, and so it's all a little bit fuzzy. But another thing that makes me reassured that the snare portion of the morphed encase is triggering that is because in the buff, I got a little bit more buff information, and it is registered in the API as the same buff with the same icon and everything. So I feel like both that and my sort of rough testing makes me believe that I am getting that exploitation for the full 11 seconds on that encase, which, if so, is pretty substantial. Stacking crit damage, Mundus Stone, basically as much crit as I can get to transform as much of that into healing as possible. Yeah. I don't know what kind of details you guys were given about your builds, but
You said that you're running dual daggers. Have you noticed? We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Do you notice a difference in the range of your attacks from daggers to swords?
I didn't feel like it was shorter. It looks weird because I do notice with the daggers, I'm like not actually like the animation wise, I'm not hitting anything. Like the range on the dagger is definitely like further than it's visible, like what it looks like. I didn't feel like my range was worse with daggers than it was with swords. Although in terms of like what actually optimizes the build, swords are what I want to work towards. I think swords are going to give a higher benefit in the long run, especially once I have some of the end game set stuff and then some of the access to potions that I plan to chug like a fucking lunatic.
Okay.
So
at least in PvP, I'll be chugging those pots for sure.
what are you going to invest heavily in alchemy then for that passive to increase the duration of potions and things?
I'm going alchemy at launch, and I will be investing heavily into alchemy for potion duration. Yep, absolutely.
All right,
I'm
that's
also
cool.
going to do provisioning just because I think it's kind of neat, but alchemy is sort of what I'm putting my number one. I'm going to be chugging so many pots, it's not going to be fair to any crafter if I have to go to them to, oh, I need another stack of 200 potions. I'll need to take care of that myself to a certain extent. So I am going on alchemy because of my potion dependence.
You have to call me up, girl. Wants those potions.
Yeah. I need your sweet juice.
Mm-hmm. Give me that cloud of mist.
But yeah, I mean, the build is getting to the point where it's starting to work really well, and this is at level 45, so it's like starting to really show the potential it has, but it's still so far from being finished that it's hard to say. And I know that veteran content's an entirely different ballgame, but what I do know about veteran content is one of the problems that you have is that you go from the non-veteran stuff where with certain bursty builds, you just 2 or 3 shot everything, and then you go to veteran content and it's like, wait, I can't just like insta-kill mobs anymore. And that's not something that this build needs to do. Like I'm very tanky on this build with Lightning Form. I keep that rolling 100% uptime. And I don't have any magicka issues as long as I'm smart about using other buffs, and I use the medium armor evasion ability as well as a stamina spender, because the way that I'm set up with all the medium armor, my stamina regen is so high that I can afford to use a frequent stamina self buff. And so I have a lot of avoidance or mitigation of damage. And then what damage I do take, I pretty quickly heal it up just because of my crit rate. So I'm hoping that veteran content, it's not going to be a huge like system shock, but I will be getting to it in a week or two before launch. Before launch, I'll be doing some of that, and I'll see how it goes. But I feel optimistic about it.
What are you gonna do about gear? Have you looked at any the item sets and decided what you might start running?
Well, the
Furnace.
The Magicka Furnace is obviously a perfect thing for my. I mean, I'm in melee range. I'm getting hit on by stuff. Magicka Furnace, unless they change Magicka Furnace, that's obviously at the top of my list. Warlock looks really good too. My stamina regen is pretty much off the chart. So my stamina regen is one that I'm not gonna do much for stamina. That I just get that naturally through the build, through the medium armor. There's some other sets that looked really good to me. There's a vampire, like some vampire set that seemed pretty promising. I'm not sure it's on this forum post. Is there a better place that has like more of the sets?
I have the sets.
So I managed to find a way under Elden Root.
The other one is there's a set that every time you crit, it debuffs your enemy's armor by 20%. and when you crit with a melee attack. So I'd really
It's a
like to
crafting
try
set,
running
too.
that.
Yeah, that's Night Mother's Gaze. That's probably what I'm going to go for.
Yeah, so Night Mother's Gaze with my attack speed and with my ridiculous crit rate, that's one that I'd really like to look at.
Those are all the sets for you.
Thanks. Yeah, this looks more complete than what I had. Thank you. So Night Mother's Gaze, yeah, the critical attacks that reduce armor. That's the one that that's one that I'd really like to look at. Do you guys remember? And it's also just a 3-piece, so that's you can pretty much work that into something else. Yeah, like I could maybe work that in with a Magicka Foundry or Magicka Furnace.
Same with
Foundry on the
Are
brain.
you trying to get a new item set made in there by Zos about TF?
Yeah, that'd be nice. But yeah, so I mean, I think definitely a 3-piece crafted set and a 5-piece drop set is something I'd like to look at. But I don't know if the 5-piece. Honestly, the Magicka Furnace, can't you get that on rings as well?
Yes.
So, I mean, in theory,
I think you can.
I mean, in theory, if you for the drop sets, if it's possible to get those drops on rings and amulets, then that opens up
3.
it opens up 12 total slots that you can set.
God,
So,
if it did, that would be absolutely perfect for my number, even in PvP.
I mean, I almost wonder if it's possible, if in the long run it wouldn't be a bad idea to just use sort of shitty ROG jewelry that just has the right set, and then re-glyph it or whatever if you need to.
But some Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, Warlock looks really good. Warlock would be really good for my build as well because of the way that I use.
Which one's Warlock again? Remind me of that one.
Gives you a 30 or
Restores it when
Magicka
it drops
back.
below.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, so I mean, I am really thinking about sets for sure. I feel like the 2-piece, or sorry, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at that, but probably the ones that I'm looking the closest at are the Warlock, the Magicka Furnace, and the Night Mother. I don't know. Based on your experience, what would you do with my build? I mean, what do you think are the big problems that I'll run into?
It's hard for me to say because I haven't tested anything melee at all.
I mean, using Lightning Form and Surge are two very Magicka heavy spells. So you're not running light armor, so you're definitely gonna want Magicka Furnace if you're taking hits from people, or Warlock.
Yeah, that's my big Magicka regeneration. I always run out of Magicka before I run out of stamina, but am still doing pretty well. I mean, I am a Sorc. I am stacking as much Magicka regen on gear as I can until the overcharging just gets too much where I'm just not seeing enough return.
So have you looked at what ultimates you wanna run for PvE and PvP? Are you gonna do different things?
It depends on the context. I mean, PvE Flawless Dawnbreaker is what I want to run. Just need them deeps. I don't think you're going to beat 10% DPS plus a usable ulti that's fairly low cost that you can spam on AoE packs. I'll experiment, but usually for my second ulti, I don't think you'll ever find me in any situation where one of my 2 ultis is not negate. I just love negate too much to ever not use it. So probably for me, Flawless Dawnbreaker on my dual wield set and then negate on my utility set.
That seems pretty good. What about like support? You gonna do anything with support or?
Well, yes, I'm going to do a lot with support, but in fact, I'm not. I'm not going to be. I'm going to be almost entirely changing my build when I'm running group PvP. So group PvP is a different beast entirely for me.
Someone's breaking into your house.
Yeah, it's just no. She's pots and pans.
It's alright enough. Police drive by, he should be fine.
This build, I'm really going to enjoy it for, soloing, small PvP, roaming, ganking, running in a small group. I won't bother, changing my shit around. But when I'm running in a group, honestly, I changed my build to be a lot more like ping longs. At least
For PvP?
Yeah, for PvP.
Okay.
I will definitely be slotting a support, but not for dungeon. Probably not on my secondary bar. I've got some supporty stuff, but yeah, I mean
My secondary bar
this
is like all
build
support.
is really a selfish build. It's not really a I'm gonna make the group better build. I've got an entirely different setup that's sort of designed for that.
Okay. That's. I was just curious because I don't know what you were gonna do for more large group PvP. By large
Yeah,
group, I mean more than like 12 people, I guess.
no, for large group PvP, I really see myself as being just an AoE CC damage purge bot. But
Love that efficient purge.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm still figuring that out a little bit. Honestly, so much of PvP as we've seen is like smart positioning, taking survivability skills, taking controls, taking heals, purges, utility, stuff like that. I'm not. I mean, obviously, everyone running like an optimized build is going to help, but I think a lot of it with PvP for us is just going to be playing as a team and having people with skills that help make each other better. So I'm more concerned with squeezing that extra, 2% out of my build when it comes to what I want to run for DPS in an adventure zone than I am about, how am I going to damage people in PvP? PvP, we just kill people. It's a lot more about playing the fight as a group in the right way than it is necessarily about how much damage any one of us individually is pushing. Yeah, I don't know. That's my take, at least. I'm still working on the PvP side of things.
My second bar is always support for this. I mean, when we roll in PvP, I have the resto staff on my second bar that has Siege Shield. It always has a heal down, and yeah.
I like that untouchable feeling. Where, we're just not dying because we're rolling so much healing, cleansing.
I mean, when we did our last event that we actually saw some action, when we went around the corner in that keep that was just full of people that we busted in, that's why I had to do is I switched over to that bar, I put up Siege Shield, and I was healing us like crazy, and we had no issues. So we had lots of heals from everyone, and it's good to have the support in the PvP situation.
That's true. That's definitely true. All right, well, I think that's a good talk that we had here.